I'm not just going to screen share the end result.
I know there may be multiple 16L8s, but in chat of the book that's on Squire's site at UMBC, page 347, shows a nice internal wiring diagram. I'm assuming that's the one we're using since it is basic, more or less the book that we have to use.
Okay, so this is going to be kind of ad hoc and rambly, so I'm going to have it as half my screen and ask comments or like try to like focus my rambles. Oh, and I have to figure out how to screen share. Quick, how do you screen share? Here,
so
share
bottom
content.
right, you see the arrow at the bottom, right next to the gear.
There
you
I figured it out. Okay, so chat, go smaller.
If you want, I can just read the chat out for you so you can go full screen.
Yeah, that probably makes more sense. Okay, so first unintuitive thing is middle mouse button is click and drag. I rebounded to a different mouse key. So here's kind of an example of not what to do for how you're wiring it. Because if you see all of my wires to go from, this is one of my peripheral interfaces, and this is the actual like connector going out, and every one of my connections has to kind of go like sideways to get to the actual pins. If you instead flip it around, so like this, you can use this internal channel to go straight to these pinouts, and it's a little bit simpler. So if you just do these things like manually, the click and drags, like you start like doing wires like hotkey X to start a new wire, has this nice little thing. You can like, it's not happy. You have that. Then you get the next one down. It gets, oh god, the pathing. Oh god, the pathing. So there. Okay, so now this is all well and good until you have to actually edit it, because like you see this turns into absolute chaos, and you have to like eventually start moving wires to make room. So if you kind of get into the selection, so right now you see I am both the route tracks. If you want to get back to this, hit escape, don't have to click something. Now you mouse over one of these tracks, hit D, and now you can do this fancy thing. And so it'll push other tracks, and so you can kind of like make room without having to reroute everything, which is a little bit nice. Go back to the track. Other cool things. So if you hit /, it does nothing because I hate this program. There. So / will flip its orientation. So if you're like, if you care, it can do that. Other cool things. So you're doing this, and all of a sudden you find you hit an impasse. This red wire has to go down here, and there's other junk over here. You hit V, it puts in a via, then you click, and then it just does there. You hit V again, click, and you go on your merry way. Super cool. Hit escape to cancel out of that stuff. Other useful things, go back to your select tool. Okay, so right now you notice I have no rat's nests enabled because it's, oh boy, that looks terrible. What you can do is you go over here to display local rat's nest. Clicky, clicky. Now you see the rat's nest for this one component and goes away. Or right here, you can see like, so you have like these two next to each other, and you can see what has to connect to each other without having to worry about the larger scheme of things, which is a nice sanity thing. Other good tools is this highlight net thing. So like things get complicated, you have like your address 0 thing, and it's routed everywhere, and you have to refigure something out or find it. You can click on it, and now everything with that net is highlighted, which is currently nothing because this is like partly done. Okay, part selection. So back to your select tool. Okay, I click once, I get like a segment, which is cool, but what if I want to rip up the entire track? So you've got two options. You hit U, and it'll select like a simple track. Like I click here, it'll get that entire track. I click here, I hit U.
Pierce is saying in the chat that also if you click on the pin itself, you should be able to see its specific net.
Maybe.
Right click.
Oh, no, right clicking is for noobs. We click on this and we hit I instead of U, and then if this had any more nets, it would show the entirety of the net. So like, I guess you can do this with the right click menu too, but the entire point is right click menus take time, and this takes time, and so make things hotkeyed. But I guess that's right too, though I haven't tried. Other useful things is, oh god. When you're going through this, all these labels and numbers are hard to look at. So you have all your layers. Right click, hide all
Pierce clarified what he meant. By right clicking on a pin, you can see the rat's nest listing just for that pin.
Right click.
Left click.
Select. Yeah. Might be because I don't have anything.
If it has a wire. To be figured out later, I think is.
Yeah, I haven't used it. So anyway, if you go on this layers tab over here, you can do things like show all non-coppers, and all the stuff will come back, or make it all go away. And so it's a little bit easier to see what you're doing when you don't have all that jazz, just kind of like cluttering your screen. And then on top of that, you can like disable one layer. And so you can work with like one at a time if need be. And you also, okay, so hit X, clicky, I'm in red layer. Page down, clicky, I'm in bottom layer. And so you can like change which your active layer using page up, page down, make that a little bit faster. Let's see, what else do I have?
Also, for those playing at home, if you click on Help and then List Hotkeys, you can see all the buttons that Patrick has been using.
Yeah, I'll make a post on the Piazza with some of the hotkeys I'm using. Like especially this drag thing is, oh, so good. It is kind of finicky doing the selection. Sometimes you have to clarify selection and then it'll move everything. And then often it'll just mess everything the hell up and you have to hit Control Z. So yeah, like over here is an example of how not to route this. Ideally, you want to have like this stuff like arranged so these wires aren't going left to right. They're kind of going through these columns in the middle of the chips. That's all I can think of right now. Questions? Let's go find the...
He is using multiple layers. This is actually
oh, good Lord.
Setup is... I gotcha. Sam asked in the chat, why aren't you using multiple layers?
I am. That's what this, you see there's green wires and then there's red wires. And how they can cross without creating problems, that is because the red ones are on my front copper layer and the green ones are on my back copper layer. And so they are actually on different sides of the board. And oh yeah, another cool thing is you can switch which ones are top by selecting your layer. And so like if you need to work with the green ones, like you can push them to the top so the red ones don't obscure them. Does that answer the question?
Andrew says it. Sam answers his question. Andrew asks, can you show an example of using the middle channel of the chip?
Yes, but no, because it takes a really long time. Like this takes time to work out. But let me try to set something up real quick. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, and so I've got the ground and power label, like fills, so I always have to turn those off. Here, how about I just do...
For the rest of us plebeians out there, can you explain what a middle channel is?
Yeah, so you see this, this is a chip. It has the 2 pins because it's a dual DIP whatever chip, and there's this giant middle space in the middle. And so a lot of times what you're going to find is you're trying to have to route all these wires like up and down, left to right, and you're going to run into a lot of like roadblocks. And so you can use this middle channel as kind of like a bus or a little highway to get to connect 2 chips, so you have some extra room. And so you this is kind of hard to describe. Okay, so first let's just hit M, move this sucker, rotate it, select, rotate. And so instead of this where everything has to come off and do the sides and it's a little bit complicated and hard to think about, you can say click here, show rat's nest. I'm sorry, what? Ah, there we go. Oh no. Let me get this out of here. Rat's nest. Okay. Here's a smart way to do it. Click on this. That's still terrible to look at because of this stuff. Got it. Oh, another really cool thing. So if you drag from like left to right like this, it will only select things that you completely encompass. So it's not going to grab these things right here. But if you go from right to left, it will tag and select everything you've touched. And then I can hit U to get the rest of these connections and make them go away. Now, hopefully when I do the rat's nest here, a little easier to look at, thank God. Okay. So let's start. you need to go here. So this is like seems pretty obvious to go this way. Click, wrap around. This one, okay, so this one's like outside, so I can kind of like go through the middle here. Oh, this is an old one where I tried to be fancy and change the track trace width because I thought I was cool or something. Let me go switch that. This is just the default, so you don't have to change anything. You just don't have to be special like me. Okay, so now you can kind of like go through. But say I want to go around this side. And so it has so helpfully shown a way to do this. You can just wrap around and go here. I know this is not actually showing what you want to see, but let's try to actually, okay, I'm gonna give a little space because I'm assuming these ones right here are gonna be annoying and they're gonna want to go the same plot. So there, connect to there. This one also wants to go that way. Well, this is poorly planned out, so this is not going to work. So here, X, I'm going to switch my layer down to the bottom, and I can go straight there, without problem. Okay. Each one of blocking off the other pins, so it'll be harder to get to later. But there we go. Now this one, okay. Well, see, now I've blocked myself twice, but I can still go around this way and go there. And then next one. Okay, and now you see why planning is good. So, like, is this showing?
Andrew asks, so as long as you make all the connections, the layer it is on doesn't matter?
Yes, all that matters is that they are connected. The layers are no difference. It's just there's two ways to get, there's like, there are two routes, like you can go on the top and the bottom. Yeah, so it doesn't matter as long as they are connected. And the reason you have to use them is because you can't cross wires.
And I also believe that requires we're using the through-hole versions. We might have issues that it requires you be on a layer if you're using a surface mount, I think.
Exactly. So if this was not a through hole, these would only be accessible to say like the top layer, and suddenly I couldn't start it with the green or the so we could only start from like the red. It could never start from this pin with a green if it was just a surface mounted one. Is it making it at least a little bit clearer of how you can kind of use a center channel to get through and kind of create like to like route things like visually? Yes, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just took a moment for chat to roll through. Thank you, the magical Patrick, is what the chat says.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of a way to explain how you do these, like, okay, select. So you're gonna, okay. So you have like, so you click on that one, it wants to go to pin 9 over there. Click on this one.
Mind if I throw some other questions at you?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Sam asks, so is there a 4-layer maximum then?
Right now I technically have 4 layers because I have my front copper, I have my back copper, and then I've got my ground and power layers. Farzad has said that there's no actual limit, so you can use more layers. And I would recommend, it's too late for me, but I would recommend you guys use more than 2 layers because things get complicated fast. So yeah, I would. Other questions?
I think that's all the questions in the chat. If you have any questions and I missed them, you can post them again.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to trying to explain the thing that I don't know how to explain. So basically what I'm looking for here is I'm trying to look at how I want to set up the routing because, okay, so that one wants to go there. This one is, so like as I go from left to right, they want to go top to bottom. So let me select these up to right so I can select, get them. Hit U to select all the trivial or like the segments. make them go away so we can think about this. Okay, so this one wants to go up, this one wants to go down. So I want to do the inverse. So if I just kind of go like this way, okay, cool. Then I go here and oh God, now everything gets weird. But if instead I go up, wow, that was super bad. There, and then this one, okay, now I can follow kind of like the same track. Ignoring the fact I haven't left myself enough room. I go down here. And so like I can create like a series of pins that kind of like go in the same way. Oh God. Yeah, the pathing for this thing is very finicky. So you're gonna have to like create like temporary points. And so if like I just kind of like zoom out and I go down like here, it can do like weird stuff. But if I go a little bit, click, it kind of like puts that order in, click, and so it limits the pathing freak out a little bit. And so you see what there is I had like 3 pins, and they kind of go along one kind of set path, and they kind of go in like the order has been flipped. And so if I had made these on the inside, this would have been like just chaos. And so you're going to look while you're doing these pinouts and connections for things where you can do this type of like single bus for pins in a row, which is another great reason to have most of your what do you call these chips in a row like this. Because if say like this is one of your flash chips and this is like another one of your like memory chips, they will have like similar pins. Like they'll each need like address pins and data pins, and if you can just figure out a way to route these in little channels, life becomes a lot easier. Other questions? Because I don't really have anything else to talk about.
Have you figured out if KiCad has any kind of auto routing in it? Particularly for like initial setup, and it might be useful if it did. Have you found any such thing?
I don't really know. I don't know. Richard, would you know about that? I'm afraid to switch back. Whatever, just take it.
It's a bunch of thank yous.
Yeah. I'm hoping Richard's going to listen and like, because he's actually done this before. Oh yeah, Richard has a, this is Richard's board. And so I've been using this as like a general guide of how to lay things out or think about it. And you notice like his top front copper is mostly oriented horizontally, which is kind of nice and helps with organization. But yeah. Oh no, that's not right. Where is it? There we go. So are you listening, Richard? Because free routing or like some type of like router is good. Yeah, so like
is Richard says he's here. Anyway, oh, you can see the chat.
Yeah. Are there any like auto router kind of things that we can use? Oh, beautiful. Do you know what it's called by chance? Well, I'll let him get back to us. So if there's an auto router, yeah, do that. But you probably want to rule check it, just in case. Like there's a debug thing, just like for the schematic, and probably check. I don't know, never trust automation completely. Other questions?
Is there any particular considerations we need to do for the power? And when I ported my stuff over, I noticed that I'm not seeing the headers. Are the headers actually on here? Do they look like, what do the headers look like on yours?
Yeah, so the headers are just connectors like this thing right here. Let me flip to 3D. You can do it, computer. There we go. Okay, so if you look here, these are the headers. They're just a place for the connections to go. Like they're, you could expand, you can like plug in just wires manually and hook something up. And if we look at this one, we can see these headers in Richard's board right here. So right here, I don't know if you can see this mouse. This is a header. It's just the connector with a lot of pins.
We can see your mouse.
Cool. Yeah, so that's all it is. Mine don't have the fancy clips that Richard does. Richard has a lot of fancy stuff that I wish I had. Like my D-sub connector footprint doesn't actually have a 3D model, which is sad, but I don't really care enough to try to fix it. There's something, what was the power considerations? Okay, so that's actually a kind of a cool thing to look at. So right now, if you look over here, I have my ground layer and my power layer. These are just, I've done kind of like a space fill. So I set this up by going and forgetting what I've done. Board setup, perhaps? Layers, here, this looks like it. So I have, I think the default that you load into is 2 layers, parts on front. And so then I have gone from the tutorial that is on lab 9, I believe, and I've selected 2 layers, four layers, parts on front and back, which gives me the front copper, back copper, and then these 2 like signal fill planes. And so I've named them, like these started out, I'm afraid to just throw it away. Here, let's just throw it away. Okay. Yeah. Okay, board setup. Custom, let's do 4 layers front on back. And so now it has created these 2 helpful layers. Let's make one power and the other one ground. And now this is the signal. So it's asking, yeah, okay. So this is a signal plane, which means we can route like wires and multiple signals. Power plane means it's going to be a ground fill or like a VCC. This one's also going to be a power plane for your ground and power. Hit OK, and now I have these 2 magical layers right here. They're super cool because then we're going to go to this add filled zone, zoom way out. I've clicked, and now I'm going to set up basically like a just like a little square around my thing, and so every power, every one of my power pins and ground pins is going to connect into this, and I don't have to do any routing. And so I've got my, I am in my power plane because that's why I put in the layer I selected. But if I wanted to, I can just like say switch this to ground, and I'll do this instead. I select my ground net, which is like, it's my ground signal. Hit OK, and now I am drawing a ground net on my hopefully ground layer. Click, and then put it back, or just double click and it finishes it. So now this is like really hard to look at, right? And so if you look at here, you can see there's like, it's filled, but it's not filled on the pins. So select, move. Okay, so I've moved a component afterwards, and now I have holes in my plane. So if, oh Lord, go away. So every time I move a component after drawing that power plane, I'm going to have to redraw it or refill it somehow. Otherwise, everything's going to get messed up. These pins that were now like on top, it just disappears. Huh. Anyway, so if I click here and I move it, now all these pins are connected to the ground layer, or the ground layer. I don't know what that's going to do, but it's probably bad, so I just redraw it. I just right click, goodbye, and then redo it. And so I did that for both power and ground. So the power, I just go again, come over here to add filled zone, clicky, hi cat, my cat's going crazy. Clicky, clicky, double clicky, and then it makes a polygon for me. Does that follow? Yes, no. Is my mic on?
Your mic's on. I think the general consensus is you went a little fast.
Yeah.
People
okay.
got it. Maybe it's just me.
Is it easy to draw the layer beforehand? Dennis, are you talking about the actual like fill I use for the signal?
Hey,
Yeah,
Patrick.
no. Yeah, what's up?
Patrick, do you have that PCB editor back up? Can you bring it back up? I'm on my phone. I'm not on my
This
PC, so I can't display my screen. Okay, yeah. So let's see.
need to move that.
I don't see the tool that you need to auto route for this on your screen for some reason. I'm a little confused.
That might be because the update to 5.0. I've seen a lot of tutorials that use a different UI for KiCad, so it might be an update issue or like a version thing.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure that-
installed an additional free router tool onto mine, which allowed me to do it. But you're supposed to be able to highlight your whole image. Just like drag and highlight a portion of the image or the whole image.
Yep.
And then right click. I can't see the portion that you right clicked, the menu.
Oh, does that
Yeah,
help?
I see.
Yeah, none of that's gonna do anything.
Yeah, so there would be if you had the tool, there would be like a drop down menu for auto route. So maybe you have to install the free route software if you guys want to auto route. Otherwise, you'll have to manually do it.
Yeah, I can go look for that. But like, there's a file fabrication setup. I don't know. There's import and export stuff. Page
Thank you,
settings.
Josh, and some more. In the chat, we're going to post some tutorials of how to install an auto router.
Yeah, there.
Dude.
I did that after when I tried it, and free route. Yeah, free routing. That's exactly the one I used. So
Yeah.
that works fine. It's just like basically an AI that runs over your schematic and does it itself. But I think there's also one that KiCad has built in. There's just a different way you have to enable the feature, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. But Deneen's question, you can't draw, or I don't think you can draw the plane beforehand, but I don't actually know the answer to that question. I just do it afterwards. Who knows? Yeah, I guess you can just do it beforehand. If it screams at you, just like delete it and redo it. Other questions?
So when I tried to assign the capacitors to a footprint, I saw a bajillion different possibilities of footprints for capacitors. What was your methodology, and what did you end up doing to get the capacitors?
Right. I think Richard answered on a Piazza post to basically try to follow the IEEE guidelines. I actually didn't do that. I was just lazy. So I basically picked one that's like roughly the size, like the 0.1s. I made like I just picked like a small looking, like I kept opening the 3D models looking for a capacitor that looked kind of like smallish. And then for the bigger one, I picked one that looked bigger. I got like one of the little tower ones. Like if you view 3D, you like my scientific method, guys. Super accurate. Okay, so these are all my tiny ones. There's tiny little disc ones. That's what I use for the little ones. And then the big one, it looks like I picked this like water tower looking dude, because that is what Richard's looked like, which is what I use for all my base. Like this is his whatever capacitor across his power supply. And then there's like little blob ones that he's used for all of his chips. So there's not really a method. I just kind of like threw them on.
Okay. And about the footprint allocation, for any given chip, you're not going to find a chip that says like UART footprint. You're going to find something that says the number of pinouts, right? That's what you ended up doing?
Yes and no. So things like the UART, the things that we got from the 1TA, those already have footprints assigned to them. Things like the LCD, these switches are just generic. But these say, what are you? Okay, you're a 74LS, yada, yada, yada. These, I found absolutely nothing for footprints, so I chose a DIP package that had the same number of pins in the rough size. Like your 8086 is going to have a package or like a footprint to it. I think the memory chips, I also just picked a generic DIP with the correct pins. Resistors and capacitors, I picked like just default things. There was no like specific package. Again, I just chose something for the switches based off 3D models. So it's a mix.
Okay, so the auto router is out of commission, sadly.
I don't know. I'm gonna go ahead.
I was just going to say for the footprints, I'm seeing a lot of them have like both, this dip, this pins, the yada yada, and then they have a second version that's this dip, this yada yada socket. Do you have any clue what the difference is?
The difference. Socket. I'm trying to think of a way to talk about this without literally just opening up my schematic and showing you guys, because I'm sure someone's recording and I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I actually hope Tamori is recording. You could open a new schematic and try it that way.
Yeah. Let me glance at menus. Footprint viewer, and that was PCB. Schematic. Yeah, let me open up a new schematic. So let me stop screen sharing, and I'll be back in a sec.
While you're getting set up, can I ask, how did you get that 3D view?
Under view options, there's just a thing that says 3D view. Well, it's closed now, so I can't show you, but yeah, it's literally just hit view and there's a thing that says 3D view and it'll just open it up. Are you? Okay, cool. So flip back to this. Share. Share. Cool. You should be able to see what I'm doing now again.
And there we are. We can see you.
Okay, so sign PCB layout. There's nothing here. So normally this would be, this intersection would be filled with your actual components, hopefully in order because you updated their component names. Okay, so there's a couple things you have. It'll filter footprints by pin count. So if you say you have like a 16 pin whatever chip, it'll throw out and not show you anything that has like 17 or like less pins or like a different number of pins. You can also filter it by library. So if you unclick this, it'll show you, I think, literally everything. Click it back and it'll only show you what's in this like subcategory. Alternatively, you can also, oh God, do it. Wow, like that lag. I like that lag. Capacitor. So type in a search thing, click this button, unclick that button, and it should show me everything with capacitor in it. It does not. Header. There you go. It'll search and it'll show me everything that has whatever number of headers, or it has header in the name. Wow, this is like super laggy for some reason. So the question was on how like I chose components. What was the question again?
Can you load up a UART, the 16550? I know this occurs for that chip. I don't know about any other chip. But if you go to find the footprint, there's both a socket version and then there's one that's just labeled as like dip this.
I don't have the, this is a new schematic, so it's not gonna have the thing loaded. Like, are you talking about when you enter the symbol or when we're actually assigning footprints?
When we're assigning footprints.
Yeah, I would have to load in the UART module because this is not going to be in here. Yeah, I don't know about that. Sorry about that one. I can't answer it.
All right, it's all good.
Yeah. So I kind of have to get back to work. So any final questions? Awesome then. Good luck, guys. It's doing like 48 hours. Don't panic.
Thank you so much, man. That was literally the most helpful thing. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Peace, guys.
Farzad, Richard, we done here? Or you got anything else to say?